I'm Melissa Reyes, and tonight I have with me this really awesome guest. I have been looking forward to this for a long time. I have with me, right next to me, right here, Cowboy Carew.
Hi, Melissa.
Hi. Carew. Am I saying that right?
You got it, yeah.
Carew?
Yeah.
Okay, because I really want to call you Carew, because you're such a caring person. I'm so excited to meet you. But Carew Papritz is the author of The Legacy Letters. This is an award-winning book, and it is, it says, The Legacy Letters, His Wife, His Children, His Final Gift. And it's just a beautiful book about writing letters. It's written in letter form, right?
Yes.
Okay, which is one of my favorite things. And tonight we're going to talk a little bit about writing letters to Santa. Yes. And I'm anxious to hear a little bit about your background and why you wrote the legacy letters. So tell me about yourself.
Well, where do I begin? Interestingly enough, I lived in Hollywood, of all wonderful places on this planet. Wonderful Hollywood, and I lived up on Laurel Canyon and next to the Hollywood Boulevard, for those of you that are familiar with that area. Mm-hmm. I got my degree in filmmaking from UCLA. I was in the film industry for about 7 or 8 years. I worked behind the scenes in the art department, had my union card, the full 9 yards. Oh, wow. And then I thought, I don't know if this pace of life is the way that I want to live. And so I ended up driving around the West, because I've lived in Wyoming, I've lived in Montana and Colorado. I was brought up in the state of Washington.
Okay.
Granddad had a small ranch when I was growing up out there, so I'm familiar with that. And anyhow, I ended up in Arizona, of all places. It was what I like to call a 3-bar town. And then, I asked this old cowboy for a job, and he said, yeah, I got a fencing job way out in the heck and gone. So I went out there, and I was fencing alone under the stars for months on end, and the pen picked itself up and wrote this book. And literally, I was riding on the back of a pickup under lantern light for months, and then I got a job working as a cowboy at a local ranch where I was the foreman. And and literally, you can stand on a hilltop and look, and you cannot see a light to save your life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Out in the call that?
The Great Alone, yeah. Or whatever you want to call that.
out on the range.
Out on the range, that's right.
Yeah, so you're a real cowboy. You were a real working cowboy on, when you were working in the film industry, did you ever play a cowboy, or was that part of your background, or is that just part of who you are?
I guess that's always been part of who I am. I remember my dad was a ranger in Grand Teton National Park when I was a kid. That's near Yellowstone. Mm-hmm. And we would go out and help the local ranchers and get on the horses and gather cattle. So there was always points in my life where I was coming back to that sort of ranch life. But it was interesting that it took my leaving the film industry to sort of rediscover my roots. And even though it was in the Southwest, I still have very strong roots in the Northwest. It was a spiritual discovery. I guess that's the easiest way to put it.
What was a spiritual discovery?
Well, maybe it was more of an early midlife crisis. Maybe that was the easier way to put it. Maybe that's the more honest way of putting it. Okay. But it was fascinating to come to this point, and forsaking all your friends, leaving behind everything that you knew, and to end up at this spot and saying, gosh, I could leave, I could go back, I could make loads of money, I could be in the wildlife, I could be on location. It's heady stuff to be in the film industry, as you well know. Mm-hmm. But I just felt so strongly that something inside me said, you are supposed to stay here and move forward from here. And that's a heck of a decision to make, especially when it involves career and the commitment to that type of career.
Yeah, yeah. And what was it that drew you? Just the more, centered type of lifestyle, more wholesome lifestyle, or Was it?
Oh, I think that's a good way. I think it's a way of getting right back into the dirt.
That's what you're called to do. Now, did you already have a family?
No, I didn't. Not at all.
You just went out there, and that was what it was going to be.
No, and that story is a really yummy story because a good friend of mine. So this ranch that I was taking, working over, I was the foreman on, but I was the sole, what they call a cow hand on this ranch. And occasionally I'd work for a good buddy of mine who was he was an outfitter. So he ran people nearby in tents. I was a horseback pack outfitter. Mm-hmm. And so I was about 2.5 years out at the ranch. And the lonely cowboy syndrome, was always present.
I cannot relate to that because I'm a city girl, but I can imagine it must get lonesome out there.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome. And when all you have for company is coyotes and that's it. I mean, there was nothing. I had one classical music station somehow found its way through the cracks in the mountains. No TV, nothing. And I ended up wrangling for my buddy one weekend. He said that he and his wife were having a child, and he said, "Hey, can you take over for me?" I said, "Sure." I did, and I met my wife to be and wrangled her like with a big root. She can't stand when I do that. And we ended up writing letters for a couple of years. We got married at the ranch on horseback, and it was incredibly romantic. And it was
You're breaking up a little bit for me, but I'm going to keep talking because I think that sometimes that catches up, the magic of the internet. But yeah, well, that is a real yummy story because, people who are looking for love get really frustrated when they can't make it happen, but sometimes it just happens on its own, and you filled in for a friend and you met the woman you were meant to be with. Isn't that a wonderful story? I love that.
Yeah, no, it is a wonderful story. And the fact that we wrote letters, I mean, what better way to the old-fashioned writing letters and getting to know someone that way. And it's extraordinary.
Have you ever heard of a book called A Woman of Independent Means? It's by Louisa May Alcott. Yeah, it's a great book. It was the first book that I read where I thought I could be a writer. And I was a young girl. My mom gave me the book, and it's all told through letters. And the letters span the story of 3 generations of women. And I loved reading and just admired how they could write a story that you can get the understanding of what a person is thinking and feeling and experiencing, but it's all through this correspondence. And then flash forward to this time, there's a woman, Lisa, I want to say, I'm looking up because I've got her books up there, Becker, hope I don't butcher her name, and she wrote the book Click. And Click is kind of about, it's all in text messages and emails, and she does a story like that too. So that really appeals to me. Is that kind of what your legacy letters is like?
There's a really fun experiment here that we can try.
Okay.
I know. Look, she's all nervous. Oh, God. Wait a second.
No, I love it when men answer questions with questions. Go for it. My favorite.
Oh, yeah, right. Okay.
Let's do it.
Okay. Let's do it. So,
tell me a story and see if I can figure out what you're
story. Let me tell you a story. Right. So, I've done... Gosh, probably 200 book signings in the last couple of years. I just book sign. It's really wonderful all over the country. And the toughest thing is to get, even though you go to book signings, the toughest thing is to get people to read your darn book.
Right.
And so I was at a Barnes & Noble book signing one day, and this mother and son were going back and forth, and I said, "Oh, come on over. God, I'm not scary, really. Come on over. Let me tell you what this book's about." And they sheepishly sort of came over, and she says, "Okay." And I said, so I told them about the book, and she goes, "Oh, that sounds really," no, she didn't say, she said, "That sounds interesting." I said, oh, let me pull the interesting knife on my back, you know, and she's laughing.
Yeah, really. Oh, that sounds interesting.
Interesting.
Okay.
The depth of interesting. I said, okay, I'm gonna do something I've never done before. I said, I'm gonna make a promise to you here. I'm gonna make a deal with you that if you open this book to any page in this book, I guarantee you'll turn to the next page, or I'll give you your money back, and you haven't even bought the book. And her son was there on the cell phone, and I said, "You too, you get a book." And I was just like, "I'm gonna get these books. I want them to read." So she picks up the book. He picks up the book, and they start reading. 1 page, 2 pages, 3 pages. She sets down the book and she says, "I'll take 2." I said, "What?" I said, "I'll take 2." I said, "Oh my gosh." I couldn't even believe it. And then she goes over to pay for it. And I turn to the kid and he's still reading. And I said, "Hey, what gives?" I said, "I never thought you'd keep reading this book. What's the deal?" And he turned to me and looked in my eye and he said, "I don't have a father. I wish the man in this book was my dad."
Oh, gosh, that's sweet. Now I'm flipping through the book as you're telling me the story, and it's all signed from Papa. So, like you said, if you picked any page, you're gonna pick
the page
from Papa,
so
and that
here's the experiment. Yeah. So pick a page, turn to a page, read 3 lines, and tell me if you want to keep reading. That's the experiment.
Okay, I'll do it if you answer my question. Can you remember my question?
Oh my gosh, that was a story ago.
I know. That's okay. I remember. Let's see. I'm flipping.
Okay. Oh, here we go.
So, of course, I come up on a page that doesn't have anything, but it does have a beautiful. Did you draw this?
It's a handwritten letter. Yeah. So that's the actual true letter that the father left behind. So this is a fiction story and the only book in publishing history to win awards in both fiction and nonfiction.
Oh, that's interesting. That's really cool. Okay, so this letter you must write. This letter is you made paper and ink. This letter carries weight, unlike mouth words, which are made of air and have no place to go but into the ether. This letter holds time, your God-given time, the minutes and hours you took to craft and weigh your words, to create sentences true, clear, and powerful. Your time has gone onto the paper and into the ink, and that is what the person will have of you as time. Wow, you're an incredible writer. I love words when they can come out of my mouth like that I've never seen before and really have an impact. And, that is, I heard you read an excerpt of your book on a video on YouTube today, and that, that was very beautiful too. So, it's no wonder that this is a award winner of 5 national awards. And it's, we're here to talk about the book, but I want to get to know you. And so that's why I was asking about you as far as, how you tried to portray this story in letters. What made you do that? What came to you that said, let's do it in a story form, but with letters?
It seemed to me the most naked way that I could open myself up. I mean, that sounds so provocative, but it's the people's response to the words in the book. It's again, extraordinary going to these book signings and having people read. They will come to me and they will open up in ways that I feel like I'm just the messenger, and yet because of the honesty of the words, because of the way that I dug for them, down in the spiritual dirt and down in the real dirt, that people respond to that. And it's I got to tell you, Melissa, it's extraordinary. I mean, when people come to me and open up about their families and their lives and the tragedies that have happened to them or the hopes that they have, and just after reading a few pages or paragraphs, And again, I'm so moved by that. So I know I'm going further afield from why I actually wrote it. As an artist, you do what you do selfishly because you have to do it. That's your calling. And
I like that.
What happens? Yeah.
What you do selfishly.
Yeah, you really do, because you, in a way, you don't have a choice of why you have to do it. You have to take this thing inside of you and put it out into the world. And at that point, how it's looked at or conceived of by other people, that's whether it's beautiful or not, or moving or not, or whether they carry it further afield in their lives. That's a whole different deal. So I had to. The job was given. The spiritual job was given to me to do this book, and I stayed with it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, tell me, let's switch gears a little bit and tell me about some of the promotions that you did for the book. You drove across country. You visited schools and libraries and did book signings, but you didn't just do sitting at a desk writing and signing books. You launched balloons and arrived on horseback. And tell me some stories there.
Oh gosh, stories. Oh, this is fun stuff, because the book publishing world is really bland. They're just sort of, I don't know, they're back 70, 80 years ago when people were reading books every day and very slowly in large books. And now you have to compete with the internet. You have to compete with all this, talking dogs and, barking babies and things like that. What are you going to do? So, but I have to do things in a very genuine fashion. I just can't go out and be a carnival barker just for the sheer heck of it. So I found a way through my own words and through my own book that I decided to take the essence of the book, which is living life to the fullest, and running with that the best way I knew how. So it was going outside and doing things such as doing the first ever digital book signing by an independently published author, but doing it on horseback while riding up to Barnes & Noble.
Right.
And people loved it. And so I conceived of these first ever events because I thought this is a first ever book, so why not? And then I did the first ever modern day whistle stop book tour from Orlando all the way to Niagara Falls, and doing book signings on Amtrak, right? I do what was called a pop-up book signing. I'd be there in the rail car and literally pop up and say, we're having a book signing. And people look at you like you're nuts, hold out a big banner, start a book signing, and people they'd show up, and it was a party. It was amazing.
How did you decide to do all this? Did you have a publicist, or did you come up with these creative ideas on your own and start a campaign? What was your process?
Yeah. See this right here? Yeah. That's my pride. It's in my ear. I'm the guy. I'm the guy that comes up with these ideas because I'm the guy that has to go do these things, but that wants to go do these things.
Right.
I mean, like being on top of Mount St. Helens, the volcano, doing a book signing up there, or on top of the space, rafting down the space, and then I thought, I really want to get kids excited. So what am I going to do? Well, you want a story? This is the story of this. I was thinking, what's the next thing I could do? I thought, okay, I could go to Niagara Falls, doing a book signing. Oh yeah, right. My wife wouldn't be too happy. My son wouldn't be too. That might be fun, but I tell you what, it's a loser. Well, yeah, go over in a barrel. No, you got in a barrel. and then I thought of the barrel being carried aloft by balloons, and I thought, no, wait a second. The book could be carried aloft by balloons.
Right.
And then I came up with this whole Great Legacy book balloon launch. And the funny backstory to this was I kept telling my wife and said, okay, we're going to do this thing. We're going to create this national book launch. And we'll put the book in a Ziploc bag and we'll tie it to these balloons. We'll carry it in the air. And I was already designing posters and getting people on board and doing all this. And my wife would say, well, I think you need to see if it works. I go, honey, I'm a man. I know what works, So after 3 months of doing this, one day she says, let's go buy some balloons. Let's see if this works. So we go into our living room, put the book in the Ziploc bag, get it all attached to one balloon, or 5 balloons, 10 balloons, 15, 20 balloons, stands up on edge. And my son goes,
paperback version or a hardback version?
This is the hardback version, which of course is nuts that it would go up and come down. So then I had a dream one night. Right, like you're gonna be up there, it's gonna fall, hit somebody. This is nuts. So I had a dream one night, and I created a miniature version of the book. Can everyone see how big that's this big? The entire book fits on half a sheet of paper. Right. So literally, we could set a world record by sending the book aloft, and we did. So we did the Great Legacy Book Balloon launch all over the country with Boys and Girls Clubs and YMCAs. And when you go on to thelegacyletters.com, or you go on to the Carew Papritz YouTube channel and check out videos of the kids squealing. They squeal when they release these book balloons in the sky. Like it's the most amazing thing. It's so much fun.
Now, did you get feedback? Did people find the balloons and contact you, or find the books and contact you? How far did they go?
Well, we had one book that went about 120 miles. So what's really cool is we combined technology with the website. So when you went into the website, thegreatbookballoonlaunch.com, and we're going to do it again this summer, you put in your information, all this, and then you get a download of the book, and you get a tracking number that you'd actually have to write in this miniature book. So when someone would find it, they put the tracking number back on the website, and it would tell the person how far, or the kids, how far their book balloon traveled. It was really cool. Yeah, what fun. It's like the old message in a bottle idea, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever heard of that done with books. I've heard of the messages going out, and then of course, it's touching to me because my son wanted to do a book launch when my dad passed away. I mean, a balloon launch. And so it was his idea, and we did that, and everybody was Memorial Day, and we had red, white, and blue balloons for my dad, and we wrote messages on them and let them off, and that was a really neat experience. So I just love that beauty of the balloons. Also, my background, my family is from New Mexico, and they have the big hot air balloons festival there. And, so just that idea of being aloft into the sky, I love that. I love the energy and the idea. So, but then to be carrying a book off. So I love authors and writers and writing, and that's a terrific idea. It had so much potential. I'm glad you're going to do it again. I think that's a really
it's really cool. And the other part that's cool too is that when we do it again, so if you bought a book, you could check off what part of we gave profits from the book. I forgot what it was exactly, but we would give them. You could choose the Make-A-Wish Foundation. You could choose Reading is Fundamental, or the Military Mama Network, which actually helps out military families. And you could check where you wanted your donation to go to.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So
and then
kids at the level of launching balloon. And now we got social media involved. So in that you would hashtag, it was book balloon or book launch or book balloon launch. And we had different themes throughout the weeks. So book balloon launch from with your favorite pet. So people would dress up their pets and launch balloons, and dress up on your favorite summer vacation spot, or with your favorite girlfriend or boy, or your favorite patriotic theme in 4th of July, or just whatever. It was fun, or the most artistic ones you could do, or the biggest group ones you could do. So it was great.
Yeah. That's really. And so when was your book launched? When did it come out?
Officially January of 2014.
Okay. So so it's been a couple of years of this, but you're continuing with it, which is what we as you're self-published or self-promoted.
We like to say when you are making an attempt to make money at publishing a book, you're independently published, because they can have, right?
Yeah.
Right. Because self-published still has that stigma to it. So self-published to me is, and when I give talks to folks, I say, hey, if you're doing this for your friends and family, you're going to sell 50 copies. That's it. If you're out to make a living off of this, you are an independent publisher. No, really and truly, because you are being independent from the big boys. And so I'm a real crusader for saying independent publishers.
I like that. I like that. I do. And that is exactly the difference. Like I'm self-published, but I didn't do the promotion part of it. I wasn't interested in that for that particular book. I wanted the experience of writing, editing, publishing, and finishing a project. But that wasn't the book that I wanted to go wide with. I have other books in my head that I want to do that with. And so that time will come. But so exactly, like I didn't lose any money, and that was I didn't spend a lot of money on it, and that was my goal, to make money on it. And I know a lot of authors who do a lot of books. That is what you have to do, and it doesn't end with just this one season. It just continues. And so, you know, you really had put a lot of effort into this. Did you have your plan for this whole campaign that lasted the last few years from the beginning, or is it just grown and grown and grown?
Beautiful question. And the reason is, as an artist and as an author, especially as an author, you come to the end of this. And this book, so there's a larger book to this, and I'll have to come back and just say it in a moment. But when I completed this, it was completing a marathon.
Yeah.
And I had worked with my editor, who I'd written books in my early 20s to great success, and he was still alive. And so it took us a couple years of solid editing to edit the big book, which is all 200 letters. Mm-hmm. And then we came to the end. It's like, oh, you're done. Now I'm ready to get an A. I had agents. I've done all this type of stuff before. I thought, no problem. I got it out there into the world. Had no problem getting it read. Everyone's saying, we love your book. Oh my gosh, it's just the best. You know, you're just, oh, this is going to be so great. Mm-hmm. And then no one was picking it up. I said, well, what's going on here? You know, and after a number of people said they love it, love it, love it, love it. And I said, what's going on? I said, tell me the truth, guys, what's really going on? They go, well, you're a nobody. And I said, no, really tell me the truth. Really? Nobody? So I said, what do you mean?
In my world.
Yeah, right. Am I right? And he said, you don't have a platform. And I go, what's a platform? You don't have a following. You don't have all this. I go, well, you know, you just sound like Rip Van Winkle, which I was, coming out of this setting, writing this book. So it wasn't enough to have powerful words anymore. Mm-hmm. You had to take on social media. And then it's like, you're kidding. So I figured if I was going to dance with the devil, social media, then I was going to lead. So now I am Mr. Social Media. I mean, you know, and so that was a part of that. That's right.
Yeah. And so at that point, that's you know, it's inspiring to know that, because we don't always do everything with a plan, and everyone is talking about strategy. And of course, it's the beginning of the year, and we're talking about goals and intentions and, you know, the vision statements and all of that. And you want, you know, to plan things out. Yet life doesn't always work according to plan. But if, you know, I find it difficult and not fun to, as an artist, to plot everything out. I like to have a basic backbone, but you know, so you did, like what you would say, everything right, and then realize there's a whole other part of it you had to do, and you went for it, and you're doing with such success. It's really nice to see, and I think that's going to be inspiring to a lot of people watching.
Well, and it's very scary. Okay, let's be honest about it. It's scary. The scary part is you give yourself as a writer, and trust me, I meet a lot of these writers. I talk to a lot of them. I go to conferences and talk about this process, and I start to talk to them about the marketing of it, and I see the glaze, you know, and I have to bring them back. I say, guys, we can start small and go out there in this brave new world, because sorry enough that your words have to be carried even by greater hands than you now. And it's not enough just to write a book. Are you kidding me? Really? It's so hard to write a book. It's so hard to write a good book. And then you have to do, as I like to say, you finish the marathon and you come to the end and the guy goes, oh, no, actually you have to go back. You're saying, what, I got to run another marathon? Yeah.
Kidding.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God. Yeah, right. That's exactly what it is, Melissa. Right. Oh my God. And I think the part of finally finding my marketing voice, which was able to combine the passion within the book, the passion the way I live life, and wanting to be outdoors and filmmaking and all this, I'm at a place where oh, it feels good again.
Yeah, when you put all your passions together and you can make something out of it, isn't that the best?
Passion. Yeah, that's the best. I mean, that's when that's good stuff.
That's what I want to do. So, let me ask you a couple of questions. You said you had been doing a lot of interviews lately, which is great, and because now you're tapping into other people's audiences, and it's going to grow and grow and grow. So what was the best question you've had so far in your interviews?
The
one that you liked.
I know the best response I've ever given when someone asked me. Yeah, the best response was, and it was with an author magazine interview. It was like this type of interview. It was a 2-camera live setup, and then it's actually on the YouTube channel there. And he asked me something about how did you get there? What was the way that you, sort of like the question you asked about opening yourself up? Mm-hmm. Gosh, I gotta remember it exactly. He said, how did you do it? What did you have to do? And I said, I had to be, and I said, naked. And it was great because it was a 2-camera setup. His eyes go.
Like, said, wait, what?
Naked. It was great. And it sort of caught him off guard. And he says, naked. He was waiting for me to fill in naked. And I said, naked, like exposing yourself like an artist does. He goes, I could see the sigh of relief. Like, oh, thank God.
Now, I've seen you with the naked cowboy in New York, right? Is that you?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, okay, I've seen that picture. So that's sort of what I picture when you're saying naked, but I know what you mean because that's raw. That's like the bare bones, right? That's what, like really, like you said, exposing yourself. I think that's great. Okay, so that's a good question. What was the hardest question to answer?
Ooh, gosh, these are good questions.
I'm just making this up as I go along because,
really?
Like I said, I used to have a lot of questions prepared, and it just made me nervous. So now I just talk.
So you just talk off your head.
I've been doing this for a while.
I got you. The hardest question is not a single question. It usually, in the beginning, it was very, very hard to come out of the artist's cave, to come out of the writer's cave. And this book does two things. It's a very, very private book. I mean, these are private letters that you are being allowed to read. And yet it's a very naked, revealing book. And so in the beginning, it was very, very difficult for me to talk about those things in this fashion because it was so revealing. And I have to be honest, there's times when, for example, it was a wonderful show I was on the other day in Kentucky. And I was not in Kentucky. It was she was reading passages from the book. She just loved it. And she was reading passage after passage. And then she hit one passage. Thank God, or not, that I wasn't on Skype or on Smile Time because I welled up. It was so powerful. And these are my words. And I'm being moved by my own words. And it brought me back to a very, very difficult and desolate place. Writing, I mean,
I have a similar experience. Carew. I went and Googled a quote that I thought was really amazing, and it blew my mind. It turned out to be from my own book. I'm like,
is that right?
I wrote that. No wonder it hit me so hard.
That's extraordinary.
Yeah, like,
wow.
You put those words out there and you give them, and they sometimes when they come back, it really is mind blowing. So you are a poet. You are an artist, and what you've shared through talking to me and through your book is it's a real gift. It really is, and I wanted to thank you and tell you that I know you have your Hollywood background, but you're a superstar now, and that's why I have you here on Tinsel Town Live, because to me, you're this kind of superstar that I want people to know and see, and so that you can shine and help to inspire others to pursue their dreams. So thank you so much. What else would you like to share with me? Tell me what else you want us to know.
What else do I want to? I would love, if you get a chance, folks, read a passage of the book. Go to thelegacyletters.com. There's all sorts of Instagram quotes and passages, and there's places where I've got part of an online book. You can read passages and different things, but take a moment to read and get a hold of me and let me know how this moves you, because that has become its own amazing adventure. This where you become the messenger to other people's way of experiencing life to the fullest, or trying to experience it to the fullest. And that's been probably the most fascinating part of the adventure so far.
Fantastic. What's next for you? Are you the big
What's next? Yeah. So just to let you know, so this little book, this is 40 of the over 200 letters that these children grew up with. And you come to the end and you wish there was more. Well, there is more. It's The Legacy Letters Complete, which is when this little book reaches the top and it's going, that will come out. It's already done. So you have an appetizer, you have dinner, and guess what's for dessert?
And there's more.
There's more. The music, the father left behind music. So I've written all the music for the book.
You're a musician as well.
Yes.
That's great. That's amazing. And you've written the music for the book.
It's all ready to go. It's all recorded. So we're just waiting for this little book to carry and head on up.
So through all of this experience and being able to share your legacy with your family and with everybody that you touch, what is your core value? What is the core message that you have that you want to share through this?
When we talk about legacy, and I really had to learn this through the book, is that, it seems that legacy is what you leave behind. And for me, the most important part is if you're going to lead a quote unquote legacy life, it's not what you leave behind, it's the legacy that you live now. So, for example, it's being in the moment with your kids. Let's say you're writing a letter to Santa and you get a cell phone. You got to be on the Facebook thing. You got to be looking. You got to be tweeting. Go, stop. Golly, stop a moment. This is a moment, and this moment's gone. And these kids are growing, and they'll be gone like this. So really take the poetry of this moment and be in it. And I know it sounds almost cliche, but folks, slow it down. Now, we're not gonna not go pause, or I like to say to my son, go, and then go slow. So, and he loves that. People love that. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, living life to the fullest is really so I love that. At first you think, that means going the distance. That means doing everything. That means, reaching new heights. But really, to have that self-fulfillment, it's about experiencing what is right in front of you and what matters to you most. So that's what you're doing. So thank you. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I have lots more questions for you. But we should announce what we're going to do. What do you think?
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay. So Carew and I had this little, internet sync of mind melding ideas. And he proposed this to me, and I think we're going to do it. So go ahead. Tell me what your idea is.
Wow, that was a send up. Is everyone ready? Okay.
It's not that big of a deal. It's just really cool.
So Melissa has next year. Please tell them what you're doing for next year, and then I can segue into that because I think that's the perfect segue. The blossom.
Okay. All right. Yes, I'm doing a year in bloom, which is going to be 5 webinars and a Facebook group and coaching, but all of it is going to be the theme of really living your best self, your healthiest, your happiest, your most joyful, and presenting it out to the world like you're in bloom, okay? Thriving. And that is what I'm going to be talking about for the year. So transitioning a little bit from the Tinsel Town, but still highlighting and meeting with inspiring people and being inspired by their legacy. So that's kind of what I'm going to be doing.
So we took this idea of blooming and with this guy who was in the movie industry and heading out to become a cowboy and then a writer and that whole evolution, we thought it would be great to go back to Hollywood, walk the Hollywood Boulevard, walk the Hollywood Hills, wherever you want, and do an interview in that way about that entire adventure and that spiritual adventure, where it took me.
And I'm going to ask the questions and we're going to have the conversation and he's going to show me and tell me his stories. And I think it's going to be a really fantastic thing. And of course, we'll produce that video and we'll put it out to the world and hopefully inspire some people and learn more because we can always learn.
Wouldn't that be great? Okay. And wouldn't that be wonderful to have a book signing on the Hollywood Boulevard right there where our stars are? Do we have stars yet?
The stars on Hollywood Boulevard? That's right. Sure. And anybody can be a star.
There we go. Oh, perfect. What a segue.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Do you have any questions for me before we get going? It's almost been an hour. It's 7:00.
You're kidding. Oh my gosh. What? I love your hat.
My sparkle.
And
yes.
Your sparkle.
Yes.
No, it was so wonderful doing this interview with you, and gosh, I can't wait to come to Hollywood to be with you and meet you in person and do the walk. It'll be great.
We'll do the walk, and thank you. I just, when you open yourself up to things, there's a couple things I'll share with you before I'll go. 3 things I want to share with you. 1. I got a little burnt out towards the end of summer on doing the interviews. It's hard to reach out and ask people and book them. And, I was trying to find people through social media just on my own. And at the same time, I reached a level with my following where I was getting pitches. I was started to get on lists and I was getting emails that I was ignoring because I was a little burnt out. So I told my friend, I don't know if I'm going to do Tinsel Town. I've been doing it for 3 years, and I just feel like maybe I shouldn't do it. And she said, you have to do it. That's your thing. Why would you stop? Why, and she was asking me more questions. And I said, look, really, just because it's hard to get people to do it. She goes, you should do it. So I said, okay, I'll give it one more. I'll just finish the year. So I go through my emails, and I realized that more than half of the pitches aren't product reviews, which is I'm used to from my blog, product reviews, like we'll send you this thing, you try it, and then you can, write about it, and we get the publicity and you get to keep the thing, Wow, that's really nice. But, and so, but what it had was a lot of authors and a lot of people like yourself who wanted to be exposed through the channel. And I thought, well, I'm going to write back to all these publicists and say, I would love to write about the book and review the book if your client would like to be on my show. And I got a lot of responses. And because I did that, I've met the most amazing individuals with stories that I couldn't have found on my own. They came to me through that way, and I opened myself up, and every week I get to meet another wonderful person like you. and it's changed my life. And that's how I came to come up with the idea for A Year in Bloom for next year, and just to shift my focus a little bit away from the Hollywood Tinsel Town. So I have to tell people, I haven't told anybody this yet, but this is my last Tinsel Town interview. My next one will be after the first of the year, and I'm going to be interviewing, and it's going to be, interview with Melissa Reyes about inspiring people. It's just going to be what it is.
I am honored. That is amazing.
Thank you. And I'm going to, over my vacation, because I work at a school, so I have a few weeks off now, starting tomorrow. After then, at the end of tomorrow, I have a few weeks off. And I'm not going anywhere this year. My husband and I are taking like a staycation. Boys, we have 3 sons, and they're going off on their own little trips and stuff. And so, so I'm going to, what was I going to say? Oh, I want to put together like a little video with all the people and all the books and all of the topics, and just kind of little like a vignette. In my mind, I kind of see it like a little, little slideshow, Yeah, so I'm going to do something like that to music and put that out as my final Tinsel Town. It's kind of hard to say because it's been my baby for a long time, and I love it. And I'm not going to like retire it. Maybe we'll still do some now and then, but I like to move on to something else.
Wow. And you heard it here.
And you heard it here. So we have lots of music happening, lots of fun collaborations. The interviews are going to continue to be every week. And we'll be bringing inspiring people to Facebook Live, to YouTube, and MizMeliz.com. So look forward to more interviews and more wonderful people and more superstars like Carew Papritz.
You got it, Melissa. That's great.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and turn off the live video. So good night, everybody on Facebook. Have a great night. And I will see you in, let's see, the next interview is going to be I've Coach Jenny on January 3rd. And then I've got Charles Hanna on the 9th and Kat Cronenberg on the 10th. So you want to find out who those people are, you got to come to MizMeliz.com and check out the blog post and find out what it's about. And we'll see you live on Facebook. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night, Carol.
Take care.
Okay. Thank you.
Woo! You're welcome. Thank you. That was great. That was wonderful.
Best ever, huh?